Deep within the arid, unforgiving expanse of the Taklamakan Desert in northwestern China, there is a secret hiding in plain sight. It is a region of endless sand dunes, extreme temperatures, and absolute desolation. There is no ocean for hundreds of miles in any direction. But if you look closely at recent high-resolution commercial satellite imagery, you will see a shape that fundamentally defies logic. Built directly into the scorching desert floor is a massive, flat, gray structure. It is exactly 1,092 feet long. It has the precise geometric outline of a Nimitz-class United States aircraft carrier. And it is not alone. Nearby, resting on an intricate system of widened railway tracks, are highly detailed, full-scale mock-ups of American Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers. Why would the Chinese military spend millions of dollars to build an exact, life-sized replica of an American naval strike group in the middle of a barren desert? They are not building them for display. They are building them for target practice. For the past 70 years, the United States Navy has enjoyed absolute, unchallenged supremacy over the world's oceans. But in the silent, shifting sands of the Taklamakan, Beijing is rehearsing the violent end of American global dominance. They have developed a weapon so advanced and so devastating that it completely rewrites the rules of modern warfare. This is the story of the carrier killer, and the terrifying reality that the American military umbrella, which has protected the global economy for decades, is already functionally obsolete. To understand the sheer gravity of this threat, you first have to understand what a United States aircraft carrier actually represents. It is not just a ship, it is a floating, nuclear-powered city. A single Ford-class aircraft carrier costs roughly $13 billion to construct. It houses over 4,000 American sailors and carries a strike wing of 80 highly advanced fighter jets. But its true value is not just military. It is the ultimate psychological symbol of American economic hegemony. Since the end of World War II, the US Navy has served as the global police force of the oceans. By guaranteeing the safety of international maritime trade routes, the United States created a world where goods could flow freely and cheaply from the factories of Asia directly to the shelves of American supermarkets. This naval dominance is the very foundation of the petrodollar system. Foreign nations trust the US dollar because it is backed by the most powerful military force in human history, capable of projecting overwhelming firepower to any coastline on Earth within 48 hours. For decades, the strategic playbook of the Pentagon was simple. If a geopolitical crisis erupted, the president would ask, "Where are the carriers?" The mere presence of a US carrier strike group off the coast of a hostile nation was enough to force them into submission. But absolute power breeds dangerous arrogance. Washington believed that these steel leviathans were invincible. They believed that no adversary possessed the technology or the sheer audacity to strike a moving fortress in the open ocean. They drastically underestimated the patience and the engineering brilliance of their greatest geopolitical rival. While America spent trillions of dollars fighting endless, unwinnable wars in the mountains of Afghanistan and the deserts of Iraq, China was quietly analyzing America's greatest strength and figuring out exactly how to destroy it. Enter the DF-21D and its longer-range successor, the DF-26. These are not standard anti-ship cruise missiles. They are anti-ship ballistic missiles, specifically engineered to hunt down and assassinate American aircraft carriers. The physics behind these weapons is genuinely terrifying. When launched, a DF-26 missile leaves the Earth's atmosphere and enters space. It travels at hypersonic speeds, reaching up to Mach 10, that is over 7,000 miles per hour. As it re-enters the atmosphere, it doesn't just fall in a predictable ballistic arc. It is equipped with a maneuverable re-entry vehicle. It uses advanced radar and optical sensors to locate a moving ship at sea, dynamically adjusting its trajectory in real time to evade defensive interceptors. Because it travels at such extreme hypersonic speeds, a Dongfeng missile doesn't even need a high-explosive warhead to destroy a carrier. The sheer kinetic energy of a multi-ton metal object slamming into the flight deck at Mach 10 is equivalent to a massive explosion. It would punch straight through the armored steel deck, tear through the internal hangars, and ignite the jet fuel and munitions stored below, completely devastating a $13 billion vessel and killing thousands of American sailors in a fraction of a second. The United States Navy's Aegis combat system is the most advanced missile defense system in the world, but it was designed to shoot down threats that travel at normal speeds. Intercepting a hypersonic missile dropping from space in a terminal dive is like trying to shoot a bullet out of the air with another bullet. This brings us back to the Taklamakan Desert. China has been relentlessly testing these missiles on their full-scale desert mock-ups. They even placed the destroyer models on winding train tracks to simulate the evasive maneuvers of a ship desperately trying to dodge an incoming strike. And here is the darkest part of this strategy. China conducted these tests in broad daylight in locations they knew American spy satellites were watching. It was a deliberate, calculated psychological operation. It was Beijing sending a crystal-clear message to Washington. We can see your ships, we can hit your ships, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. Now let us examine the catastrophic impact this has on you, the American citizen sitting at home. You might think that a naval conflict thousands of miles away in the Pacific has nothing to do with your daily life. That assumption could cost you everything. The Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea are the most critical economic arteries on the planet. Over 60% of global maritime trade passes through these waters, including the advanced semiconductors that power everything from your smartphone and your car to the US power grid. In the event of a conflict over Taiwan, the psychological deterrence of the carrier killer missiles changes the entire geopolitical chessboard. If the US Navy knows that sailing a carrier strike group into the South China Sea is essentially a suicide mission, they will be forced to keep their ships hundreds or even thousands of miles away, safely outside the missile engagement zone. This is called anti-access area denial, and it means that the US military umbrella over the Indo-Pacific is already functionally obsolete. If the US Navy is pushed out of the region, China gains absolute, uncontested control over the global supply chain. They could unilaterally declare a blockade, choking off the export of essential electronics, medical supplies, and consumer goods to the West. Within days, the American economy would face a catastrophic shock. The shelves in your local grocery stores and pharmacies would go bare. The prices of basic goods would skyrocket, triggering uncontrollable hyperinflation. Factories across the United States would be forced to shut down as they run out of imported microchips and raw materials, leading to massive nationwide unemployment. Furthermore, without the undeniable threat of American naval force to back it up, the global trust in the US dollar would evaporate. Foreign nations would aggressively dump their US Treasury bonds and abandon the petrodollar, mathematically destroying the purchasing power of your life savings, your 401k, and your pension. History is a graveyard of invincible empires that failed to adapt. The Spanish Armada was sunk, the British Royal Navy was eclipsed, and now the American Carrier Strike Group, the ultimate symbol of modern superpower status, has been neutralized by a weapon that costs a fraction of the price to build. The ghostly outlines of American ships drawn into the sands of the Taklamakan Desert are not just military targets. They represent the tombstones of Pax Americana. They represent the exact moment the United States lost control of the world's oceans and, by extension, lost control of its own economic future. The balance of global power has already shifted. The trap has already been set, and the United States is sailing directly into it. When the supply chains fracture and the dollar collapses, how will you protect your wealth? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. For the dark geopolitical realities the mainstream media ignores, subscribe to The Silent Borders.